Hello and welcome to Farm Show TV. I'm your new host, Sherilyn Jolly-Nagel. I was born and raised in this beautiful province of Saskatchewan. My family and I farm near my hometown of Mossbank. We grow chickpeas and lentils. We grow cereal crops, including durum wheat and barley. And of course, you'll always find a heart-healthy canola in our rotation. In terms of animals, the only livestock you'll find on our farm are our two daughters, Claire and Addison. And of course, we have a farm dog. In addition to being a farmer, I'm also a speaker, and I'll take any chance I get to speak to audiences about the stories of life on the farm. For the past 20 years, I've worked in the arena of agricultural policy and communicating with the public about the modern agricultural practices that we use on the farm today. I've had so many cool jobs inside and outside of the agriculture industry, and I hope to bring those experiences to this show. I can't wait to connect you to some truly awesome people in the agriculture and food industry. I'm really pumped to get this show on the road. Next up, learn about how this show is going to operate and some of the new cool features. Canada's Farm Show is showcased here in Regina every June, and since I was little, I have attended that show. In each new episode of Farm Show TV, we're going to showcase a variety of content and topics that focus on the three pillars that are important to Canada's Farm Show. The three pillars that are so important to Canada's Farm Show are innovation, collaboration, and education. So our segments will focus around those three things. And of course, you should come to expect some heartwarming and inspiring stories about the lighter side of rural living. Today I have the pleasure of announcing the winners for Canada's Farm Show Field Meal Contest presented by Viterra. Nominations have closed, and we wish to thank all of those who participated and for nominating some truly worthy candidates. The winners are Howe Livestock and Grain from Mossbank, Delage Farms from Indian Head, Baber Farms from Neudorf, Reich Farms from Crake, Leguy Farms from Fillmore, and Buckle Farms from Yorkton. Congratulations to all of the winners. Based on your feedback, we'll be releasing segments of the show as well as the full episode. You can catch all of these pieces on our website. And remember, this is your show, your way. You can watch anytime, any place, the combine, the tractor, the kitchen table, or the couch. We'll catch you at canadasfarmshow.com.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
Joining me today is 13-year-old entrepreneur, publisher, author, and farm kid from Mossbank, Saskatchewan, Carson Green. Thank you so much for coming today, Carson.
Thanks for having me.
So in my hands, I am holding a copy of the first edition of your magazine titled Everything Country Magazine.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and about this magazine project.
Well, as you mentioned, yeah, I am a 13-year-old farm boy, and I've pursued many businesses in my days, such as raising rabbits and taxidermy and stuff like that. And I've been helping with harvest lots this year, and me and a buddy came up with the idea to create a magazine, and we thought that that was a really good idea, so we got to work, and it came together really nice in the end.
So you are a businessman on top of all of the other credentials that you have with a business partner officially?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great. So I had a chance to read cover to cover, read your magazine, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There are a few things in the magazine I thought we should highlight. Now, you already mentioned the rabbits, and I did find a full-page ad for a business called Carson's Rabbits, and I assume you are Carson of Carson's Rabbits.
Yeah, I am.
So, and there's an advertisement in here for your taxidermy. There's also a really great piece, probably my favorite piece in the whole magazine, and it was an article written by you called A Dying Breed.
Yeah.
And in this article, you share your opinion on what you refer to as a modern day crisis.
Yeah.
Tell me about the modern day crisis that you see.
Well, as we see in this modern day society lots, there's this upcoming generation is really invested in screens and devices and all that, and work ethics are sadly really fading away, and it's visible. You can really see how it's taken place and taken its mark on the world. And I think that really city kids and all that who don't have the pleasure of living in the country, you know, they seem happy and all that, but that's because they don't know what they're missing out on. And it's just really beautiful land out here in the country, and people don't appreciate that as much as they should.
I feel, having a conversation with you, that you're full of gratitude for being able to grow up on a farm. And I in particular, I highlighted one quote from your publication, and do you mind if I read it?
Go ahead.
When I look around at my peers, I can't help but think, we are not going in a good direction. People of all ages are now becoming more and more consumed in their devices. So I had to wonder, when I saw that you had written a publication, a real magazine that I could pick up and flip through, I wondered about, you know, so many of the younger generation, if they were looking to share their stories about their life and their life on the farm, they might turn to social media.
Yeah.
They might make a YouTube video, they might go on TikTok, they might go on Instagram, and you've chosen to publish a magazine, a full-color magazine with your own images, your own stories, and your own poetry. And I assume that's kind of a step in the right direction towards solving this modern-day crisis that you see?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I really think not as many younger people in general don't really appreciate the real thing as much as they should. You know, like, books have turned into the internet and whatnot, and young entrepreneurs, there's not many of them, sadly, anymore. So it's me doing this, I think, is it's good for me and good for other people around me, I believe.
So if you could give some advice to a kid that's living in the city that doesn't have the pleasure of access to the field work and the animals that you have, what advice might you give to them if they're looking to be a little bit more country?
Well, they just got to really try to not get so consumed in their devices, and they really got to try not to ruin the moment. You know, like, say they go fishing with their dad on the weekend or something, and, you know, instead of actually fishing, they're sitting on the tailgate of their truck on their phone and, you know, watching TikToks and all that stuff. And it really ruins the moment more than you think it is. And in the future, I know a lot of people will look back and kind of regret how much time they spent on their phones during their childhoods.
I think you might be right about that. If somebody wants to get their own copy of Everything Country magazine, where do they go to do that?
Well, they can email me at carson.greens08@gmail.com, or they can find me on Instagram at everything_country.mag.
Awesome. So how much is the edition? What can people expect?
It is $15, and for a PDF, it's $5.
Okay, so it's also available in an online version?
Yep.
Very good. So when can we expect edition number 2? And can you give us, you know, some spoiler alert about what we might see in the next edition?
Well, the next issue is planned to be coming out on December 1st of 2021, and I won't give too much of it away, but just for a little taste, we're going to be looking at tips on purchasing your next bull at the upcoming bull sales, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the drought that here in southwest Saskatchewan we're experiencing, and definitely lots more life on the farm stuff than was in this issue. And I got a few tricks up my sleeve that I'm planning.
Very good. I understand that you had to get special permission to take some time off to come and visit with me today. What are you supposed to be doing during this really busy harvest time?
I'm supposed to be trucking with Willie and helping unload the trucks and all that, and running the auger.
Tell me a little bit about your farm.
We got a decent sized operation. We got grain and cattle as well, and that's pretty much about it.
So these rabbits, this other business that you have on the go, you and I know each other from your rabbit business.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, should we talk a little bit about our rabbit business interconnection? What happened?
Just a little mistake in the gender telling of the rabbits, I suppose.
Yeah, it was an honest mistake, and I'm thoroughly enjoying my new rabbits and the bunnies that came with it. It's such a pleasure to know you, Carson. I'm really proud of you, and I think you're going to inspire a lot of farm kids to share their stories and be appreciative of their life on the farm. And I think you'll inspire some of our urban cousins, some of the kids that live in the city too, that might want to be a little bit more country someday.
Sure, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carson. Thanks for tuning in.
If you're looking to add an expert voice to your decision-making process, invite your local Ministry of Agriculture specialist to the table. Located in offices around the province, specialists provide the latest agronomic and programming information and advice tailored to your operation. Contact the Agriculture Knowledge Centre by phone or online to connect with your nearest specialist today.
Hi, I'm Rick Hubrick with CLAAS of America. I'm the Regional Product Supervisor for Canada. The key customers that would benefit from the 6800 would be just about anybody. The one thing it is limited capacity due to its size. It will keep up to larger machines, but it is classified as a Class 7 machine. It is great for the guys with cattle, so I mean we're getting full-size bales out the back because the straw quality is tremendous. It's good for lentils, canola, wheat. It's all crops out there. It just depends on how many acres an hour a person's looking at. The 6800 is not the biggest machine out there, but it does give the larger machines out on the market a run for its money. The 6800 Lexion can be outfitted with CMOS Automatic. So CMOS Automatic is a unique system that reads what's going on inside the combine. It can take the combine and keep it full, keeping it more productive. So as the crop gets thicker, it will slow down. As it gets thinner, it'll speed up to keep the processor full. Also, it'll change settings on the go, such as your fan, your concave, and your sieves. So CMOS Automatic gives you the ability to put somebody that perhaps is less skilled in the seat and making them a better operator. It can be fitted with the Pro Chop chopper. The Pro Chop chopper does a great job on residue management out the backside with 108 rotating knives. We've got things like the feeder house with the belt in it. That's reducing maintenance costs. We've got dynamic cooling, which helps reduce maintenance on the air filter system, keeping the engine compartment cleaner. There isn't just one thing. We've got things like we're belt drive, so we're reducing horsepower requirements. We've got the CBIS touchscreen, and that's just a few of the features that a customer can benefit with the 6800 Lexion Combine. The main innovation with the SynFlow walker machine was the fact that we've made it bigger. So not only did we make it bigger by 20% in the threshing area and the separation area, but we also made it with the grain handling as well. So you're going to see less losses, improved production due to quicker grain handling. So we're unloading at, that 5.1 bushels per second, and just making it a more friendly unit. You can adjust your chopper from inside. You can adjust for wind compensation from left to right. You can adjust from high to low from inside the cab. You can put in, other people might know them as filler plates from inside the cab with the push of a button. Everything that you possibly can do from inside the cab, we've done it. Well, they've been working on it for a long time, and we were looking to make a more economical and higher performing walker machine, and we were looking to try and just make it perform a lot better. So what they did is they added extra threshing cylinders and separation cylinders just to give it approximately about 20-25% more capacity over our previous walker machines. And I mean, if you look at 25% fewer harvesting hours or days, that can give you an extra week with your family. You can reduce fuel costs, you can reduce extra hired hands, so you're not out there trucking for an extra week or depending what's going on. It just makes you more profitable and more efficient as a producer. We're one of the more fuel efficient machines out there, so they're saving money on fuel, they're getting the harvest done quicker, so they're saving on costs on labor, they're saving costs on trucking, they're reducing hours on the equipment, and that helps with reducing the bottom line. Well, there isn't just one thing about this machine that makes it unique. It's the bundle. It's everything. It's from the grain savings out the back. It's the residue management. It's the maintenance savings and the quicker harvest times. It's just a complete bundle, and the best thing to do is come down and have a look at it. If a customer's looking for us, they can go to our website, and we do have a dealer locator available on there. Thank you for looking into the 6800 Lexion Combine, and we hope to see you soon.
Grain headquarters? That's Regina, home of Viterra, who partners with farmers across Canada and America and Mexico to market and move their crops to customers in 60 countries. We're headquarters for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From Regina, we feed the world. We are growing the impossible.
Welcome to this segment of Farm Show TV. Joining me from Kansas City is senior meteorologist with World Weather Inc. 41 years of international forecasting under his belt, not your average weatherman. Joining me is Drew Lerner.
Hey there, how are you today?
Really good, Drew. It's a pleasure for me to have this conversation with you today. Thanks for joining me.
Sure. We're taking a break from all the nasty weather around the world for right now. Everyone's happy with me for right now. That's a plus thing.
I do want to get into a little bit of what kind of feedback you get. I think you and I have gone way back. I'm a subscriber. Our farm is a subscriber to your weather forecasting, and you and I have spoken at a number of conferences together. I was trying to think if maybe Farm Tech in Edmonton might have been the last time that I saw you there at a conference.
Yeah, that's probably about right. It was just about 5 weeks later that I was no longer able to get out and about. So that was one of the last times that I was certainly in Canada. I believe there was a couple of other meetings, but yeah, it's been a long time. And I'm still grounded here. I guess the rules getting into Canada are changing a little bit. That's a plus, I guess, but you just never know what you're going to run into. So I'm hoping that we can get this pandemic under control and maybe we can resume some kind of normalcy for 2022.
Yeah, you and me both. Drew, maybe I'll start. Can you give us kind of what does a day in the life of a meteorologist look like?
Well, we're all a little different, right? One of my issues is when I get started in the day, it's usually about 4 in, and I usually the first thing I do is take a look at what's happened overnight. So I get out our latest weather data and start assessing. I'll start in the North American continent and work my way around the globe. And the idea is that if anything has happened that shouldn't have happened or is going to happen, I need to get that in my mind. So that's the first thing that I will do. After that, I usually take a look at the various computer forecast models. And so the first hour to hour and a half that I'm here, I probably spend a lot of time looking at all the models and all the changes that have occurred in the last several hours. I'm usually here fairly late in the evening, so there's usually not a whole lot of new data that's come in since I left, but there's usually at least one new model run for just about all of the models. So I'll take a look at that. I'll get it in my head what's going to be market moving for the commodity market trade for the day. That's the first thing that my concern is. And I will go from there to recording a podcast that we have that basically is the morning market weather changes for the commodity trade, and basically spew forth whatever I've learned. If we've got a new tropical cyclone that's going to go a different direction than what was expected, and I'll spend some time with that, but talk about the general trends. And really from that point onward, it's just one product after the other. We've got some written text that we do. We have a number of other products like the one that you subscribe to. And so we spend a lot of time putting those all together. But the research time in that first hour, an hour and a half that I'm here is just absolutely critical. Because if there's something that has happened that's going to move markets, that becomes the very foremost thing that needs to be handled. So if there's a frost or a freeze coming up that's going to hurt coffee areas in South America, then I need to jump on that and get that report out to our subscribers as quickly as possible. And it just goes on from there.
It may be one of the biggest differences between your subscription and a lot of the other, free weather forecasting services. Is I find a lot of the other forecasting channels out there really focus on highly populated urban centers, whereas your forecasting focuses on production areas, agricultural production areas. Can you give us an indication of what % of your clientele would be in the agriculture and food industry?
Oh, probably 90%. We are an agricultural weather firm. That's been our forte. That's where all of my history has been since 1979. And I live and breathe the ag industry. And so when I developed World Weather Incorporated, I had full intentions of maintaining that. We do dabble a little bit in energy, and we dabble some in transportation and do some various other strange things, but it's really all about agriculture. And our subscribers, they vary greatly from the farmers all the way up through major food companies and brokerage firms and transportation companies. Really any part of the entire agricultural chain, from the seed that gets put into the ground to food on the table, is part of our forte. And that's where we spend all of our energy. And I like that a lot. I really enjoy the agricultural sector because it's maybe a little bit more ignored relative to a lot of the other weather sectors.
Right. I would say since the dawn of time, the agriculture industry has had to consider the weather forecasting, as something of interest. And not only are farmers interested in the prediction of weather, we're also interested in the data collection and the analysis of the weather. So I would say your business is probably just as much about data collection and analysis as it is predicting weather. Would that be fair?
Oh, absolutely. If we didn't have a good data coverage, we can't possibly provide the kind of information that we do. And that's one of the good things about the industry changes that have taken place in my 42 years of doing it. The amount of data that we have access to now is actually almost overwhelming. The only issue is whether or not it's data that we can be relying upon. Some of the volunteer data that's out there isn't always the best quality data, so we have to be real careful not to grab onto some kind of erroneous information. But yeah, absolutely, data collection is absolutely imperative. And just like the model data is, if you don't have good quality data to begin with, you're going to make an error for sure. And the models are dependent on that data too. And that's one of the reasons why the models have gotten a little better over the years. Because there's now a lot more data that's coming into them. When I first started this business, we didn't even have computer systems, unfortunately. So we hand plotted everything, and the amount of hand plotting that you can do is pretty limited. So, praise the Lord, we got ourselves a computer.
Were you using a sundial, Drew, or what?
Yeah.
Way back when?
A little wet finger up in the air, right?
Right. Throw some chaff in the air and see which way the wind blows.
There you go. You got it.
So, Drew, there is a public conversation happening around the globe. And certainly if you follow any Canadian politics, we're in the middle of a federal election. And the conversation around climate change is big and it's heavy and it's weighing on a lot of people's minds. And for me, I would say the conversations that I have with other farmers, it's a very different perspective on what climate is, whether or not it's changing, and the weather. Farmers have always been concerned about short-term weather. So we're looking at, is it going to get a rain so we can germinate the seeds that we've planted? We look at medium-term weather. Are we going to get hail before harvest? Are we going to get snow in the wintertime for subsoil moisture? And then we have to consider long-term weather patterns. Is the drought that we're experiencing now going to last for 5 years, 10 years? What does that look like? So farmers have forever and always been looking to adapt to weather conditions that change, whether that's an extreme at flooding or an extreme at drought. So I'm really interested to hear from a meteorologist perspective, what is your take on the climate change discussion? And is it different than what we're hearing from politicians and activists? And how do you sort out the data that we're talking about?
Boy, that's a loaded question that's going to take hours to answer properly.
And go.
Well, probably the most important thing here is that we need to, first of all, separate what is weather and what is climate. They are very different. And I think the media does a terrible job in jumbling these up in such a way that everything is climate, and that is not correct. Weather is what you were just describing. And is it going to rain today? We've got this storm system coming in from the west, and it's going to move which way, how big is it going to be? How much rain is going to occur? And in any particular day, a single weather system can produce a mellow amount of rain, or can come in and produce a disastrous, wind and hail and all kinds of damage. But any particular day has a weather event that will create extremes, whether it's in your town or whether it's in someone else's town. The weather is volatile, and it will always be that way. Now, climate is the average of all the weather that occurs, and that's what's really most important. The climate is basically, we use a 30-year average for most places around the world. So if you take the daily weather and you average it out over 30 years, and you get the average temperature as being, 14 Celsius or whatever, that is your climate for that particular area. So climate doesn't change every day, right? If you have an increase in storminess that occurs over 30 years, then you can talk about climate change. It's now stormier than it was 30 years before because the frequency of storms is higher. One of my frustrations is that we get some weather extremes to take place every so often. And the very immediate knee-jerk reaction from the media is, this is climate change. We have a tornado that, moves across a major metropolitan area. It hasn't ever happened before. So that's a terrible thing. And the immediate reaction is that that's linked to climate. And that's not true. Weather is extreme all the time, but not in the same places, right? So you can go through many days without seeing any kind of wild weather. And then at some point down the road, you get that one storm system that's incredibly intense, and it causes all kinds of damage, and it's a real disaster. But you can't blame one of those storm systems on a climate change. Now, I've been doing this for 42 years, as I said before, and in those 42 years, I have seen the entire world's temperatures turn warmer. There's no question about the fact that the world is warmer now than it was when I started in my career. But the question is, who is responsible, or what is responsible? And if you know me very well, you know that I'm very much into cycles that are in the atmosphere. I fully believe, and I can prove it, that there is a lot of weather that occurs around the world that is cyclical. There are cycles that occur every few days. There's cycles that occur every 10 days. There's 30-day cycles. And then you go out into those longer range periods. And you've probably heard me talk about the 18-year cycle. And this year we're talking about a 22-year solar cycle that's involved. And all of that just kind of goes on and on. You can find all kinds of cycles in the atmosphere. Well, sometimes when you take one cycle and you overlay it on another, you get some abnormal weather, what we would consider to be abnormal, because those cycles are bringing in such a combination of weather elements that the weather gets a little weird. And that happens on a periodic basis. And this is where the frustration occurs on my part, because when those patterns are overlaying, they are predicting, if you look at them separately, you know what kind of weather comes with each one of the cycles. You put them together and you get something a little bit more dramatic. That doesn't mean that it's a climatic change. It's just that the cycles are coming together in a different manner, in such a way that there is more wild weather occurring. And it's really frustrating when we can sit down and we can say, like we have this year, that North America is going to be in a period of more extreme weather, with droughty conditions prevailing longer over multiple years. We make that statement based on cycles, not based on climatic changes. And where the confusion then comes in is, where do you draw the line on what's climate change and what is cyclical? And that's where the big arguments are out there. There is definitely climate change in regard to the Earth's average atmospheric temperature. There's no question about it. And because the world is warmer than it used to be, there's more moisture that is being held in the air than there used to be as well. If you have more moisture, that's more fuel, right? So most of the bigger storm systems that come along these days are capable of producing much heavier rains than they used to be able to do. Because we are a warmer planet, we can hold more moisture in the air. So that is a climatic change. Now, you can take that a step further and you can look at some of these bigger rain events that have occurred around the world recently, and the huge amounts of moisture that are coming out of the sky. And you can relate that to the warming of the Earth and the fact that we are so much warmer in our atmosphere, that there's so much more moisture there that you can create much heavier rain events. That's climate change to a certain degree. But you can't take one system, like, for instance, the flooding that occurred in Germany this summer. You can't take that system that created the flood in Germany and directly relate it to a climate change. Certainly, the climate change property in that situation is that the atmosphere can hold more moisture. That's fine. But what created the flood in Germany was a set of circumstances that were unique for that area. It was just one of those situations where the ideal environment occurred for all this crazy amount of rain to fall. Now, the only part in which climate is a participant in that is the fact that the atmosphere is warmer and there's more moisture in the air. But the intensity of the rain that occurred in a concentrated area has nothing to do with climate. It has to do with the positioning of high and low pressure systems, where the moisture source is coming in from, and that kind of thing. So it gets kind of complicated. And the thing that we have to remember when we see these disasters take place is that not all of them can be totally linked to a climate change. And that's where the frustration on my part is, because the political part of all this is that they take every little adverse weather event that takes place and blames it or links it directly to climate.
We both knew it was not going to be a short answer. It's a big, big issue. And I appreciate you sharing with us your differentiation between weather and climate. Is there anything in particular, kind of that one thing that you would like farmers to know about weather and climate and the analysis and the forecasting of that? If you could share one piece of information with every farmer, what might that be?
Well, I think the very first thing is most farmers are fully knowledgeable about the weather and climate in their area. So don't let some of these media outlets have a huge influence on where you think you're going down the road. The weather has changed. I don't think there's anyone out there that would say that their weather is the same as it was back in the 1970s or 1980s. Everyone notices that there's been change, but we go with each day as they come along, and we react to whatever the situation is. So I think probably the best advice that I can give is that stay connected to the short-term outlooks and watch what's going on, but don't overreact to some of the other overreactions. I guess that's probably the most important thing.
Don't react to the overreaction. I really like that. That's really good, Drew. Thank you so much for that. And thank you also for leaving, on a positive note. I think what I would want the public to know is that agriculture has always adapted to changes in weather and in climate, and that we have just a tremendous institution, that is our industry, that is constantly innovating and adapting, and farmers always have something new to work with, whether it's drought tolerant varieties, whether it's new equipment, whether it's new technology. We always have a new way to adapt to what's coming to us, whether it's weather or market fluctuations. So I want our public to know that they can have some faith in the industry, that we're going to overcome the challenges that come. Drew, how do people subscribe to World Weather?
Yeah, you can go to our website, which is just www.worldweather.cc. Be real careful to make sure you put the .cc. We are not a .com company. I think we're the only one in the world that doesn't end in .com. But anyway, worldweather.cc, and you can get all the information on there that you need for subscription. If you want to call us, our number's on there as well. And so that's probably the best way to make it simple.
That's great. Thank you again so much, Drew Lerner, for joining me today. This has been Farm Show TV. You can catch this segment or any other episode at www.canadasfarmshow.com. And remember, we are on demand. So wherever and wherever you are, you can catch our show online, canadasfarmshow.com. Thanks again, Drew. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
My name is Steve Webb, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer at the Global Institute for Food Security. In no time in my lifetime has food security and concerns about where their food comes from been as high on the agenda of the Canadian public as it is today. It's a great opportunity for us in agriculture. We at GIFS see technology as a solution and a wonderful opportunity to take Canadian agriculture to the next generation of food systems.
Feeding the farm crew in the field is a necessary tradition that is alive and well in Western Canada. And as a farmer myself, I can attest to the value of a well-fed farm crew. On this episode of Farm Show TV, we will be celebrating harvest with the delivery of a Canada's Farm Show field meal presented by Viterra to a very deserving farm family, Howe Livestock and Grain. This field meal was created by Chef Chaminda and prepared in the Real Flavors kitchen. He used some truly amazing Saskatchewan-grown ingredients. We also included some Coke and Great Western products, and we couldn't leave without delivering some of Canada's Farm Show swag. Before we head over to Howe Livestock and Grain, I invited Chef Chaminda to join me on my farm so we could talk about some of the crops that I grow that he used in this truly special meal. So Chef, we're standing in a field that was lentils. Large green lentils have been grown on our farm for several years, probably close to 15 years. And it's recently been harvested, and I don't want to pretend like we left these lentil plants for you to see today, but we happen to have a missed spot that I can show you.
I think I'm lucky enough to see some.
As you can see, it's really a short plant that grows. There's not a lot of plant material that happens, so the headers and the combines, the equipment that we used, it basically has to shave the ground in order to harvest the lentil out of the plant. So I'll just pull this plant up. This is the pod, and on the plant will be as many pods as we can grow. The more lentils and pods per plant, the higher the yield, the more successful our crop will be. So if you just, several of them still have a lentil in them. So if you open it up, you can see this one actually has two bonus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that would be what the large green lentils will look like. These ones aren't the prettiest lentils at the moment, but you can kind of get an idea when you shell them out. Inside there is the lentils. So the province of Saskatchewan is the largest exporter of lentils around the world. So,
that's right. Yeah, that's I get to know once I came here. Like
Yeah.
it was surprising me too. Yeah.
Saskatchewan people don't tend to eat a lot of lentils, but when it comes to the world market of lentils,
Yes,
we're
it is.
actually a really big deal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it's a
is.
big deal. So tell me about cooking large green lentils for you? Is it fun? Do you have to flavor them, or?
We have been using these green lentils since I grow, I guess, and then we use it in a different ways and all. So
Okay.
once I came to here in Regina, I figured out, you know, like lentil is a big market in here, and compared to, and we are exporting so much too. And what I do is, you know, like I try to create in a different ways, you know, like how I roast them and make it into powder and make some kind of pasta, or how I'm going to crust it and use it as a crust on the steak or fish or something like that. So I'm looking forward to do much more on using all local grown lentils and all. Honestly, I never seen chickpeas though. First time seeing a chickpeas
First
tree.
time? That's
Tree.
awesome. If we happen to get, you know, a lot of rain and sun, this plant that looks dead right now would start regrowing.
Oh.
Then it's
then-
awful to harvest it, because then you'll have new growth on the top that's
Yes.
green and
Yeah.
trying to shoot out more peas. Meanwhile, so the plant is in all different stages.
Oh, I see, I see. Now
So that's
okay.
why in most chickpea fields you have to use a chemical like a desiccant that
To
kills
stop
the
the
plant.
plant. Okay.
Otherwise, the damn thing will just keep growing.
So after how many months you get start growing these seeds and all?
So we'll plant them in April,
Yeah.
and typical harvest would be September, maybe even October. We've harvested chickpeas in November.
Yeah.
It just depends, because they don't want to stop growing.
Oh, I
And the
see.
more they grow, the more yields
Yes,
they'll make, so you don't
yeah.
want to stop it.
Yeah.
But if the weather, like this year we just had no moisture, so the plants just,
Just stop growing.
yeah.
Oh,
And these
that's
are quite nice chickpeas. Typically, chickpeas are quite susceptible to disease pressure, and so you constantly have to spray them with a fungicide to help with the disease. But these are actually quite nice. A 10mm chickpea is kind of what you would love to have. So these are maybe a little bit on the smaller side, but still pretty good. So these greener ones, if you try to open that up, see it's soft and pliable, and then you can tell that there's moisture in it.
Oh.
So look at how big they are.
Can I try?
Yeah, yeah. And so that hasn't yet, it's still bitter. If you find really green one,
Probably very similar taste to
Yeah.
peas.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're very sweet. At the right time, when the chickpeas are all green, green chickpeas are my absolute favorite. We don't have a mechanism to harvest green chickpeas.
Yeah.
I think it's very manual labor, really. I'm not sure what kind of machine it takes to harvest them. But this will shrivel up and then become this.
Yes, you try
Yeah.
that one, yes.
That's right.
Great. So, since you mentioned that, you know, like green, which is not growing fully, maybe something I can come up with some idea, you know, like, okay, maybe next year when you're doing a farm show,
Yeah.
create some kind of dish, you know, like how to incorporate this one with the salad course, or
Yes.
you know, like
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are standing in an unharvested canola field, and you can feel that everything is
Yeah.
kind of dry, so it won't be too long and we'll be able to harvest the canola. So in each one of these pods, so I'm gonna pull up a big plant, because canola, it's kind of a funky looking plant. So it will bush out like this.
Uh-huh.
And then each one of these pods will have the seeds inside. So you can crack open these pods, and then you'll find these little kind of black seeds.
Very similar to the color and the size of
Mustard?
mustard. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
very similar.
Yeah.
And so mustard is often used obviously as a condiment.
Yeah.
With canola, it's grown for its oil content.
That's right,
So
yeah.
when you think about canola oil from a chef's perspective or from consumers, they almost always think about canola oil and the baking, or that's how they would buy canola, is in canola oil. So once you separate the oil content, then there's a meal that's
Yes.
left,
What-
and so
what they
that
do.
can be used to feed fish. It can be used to feed cattle. There's lots of
Oh, I see.
things that you can do with the meal.
I think the Canada is providing like what's percentage of oil to the world?
Yeah,
Canada.
the canola success story is Canada's to own. In fact, it was scientists here in Saskatchewan that developed canola. So it comes from a rapeseed. which has been grown for many decades and grown in many parts of the world.
Yep.
But scientists here in Canada developed it's a genetic modification of rapeseed that gives us canola.
Canola oil.
Yeah, you got it. So it's a success story for us as farmers to be able to grow an oilseed crop like this, and it's quite a profitable one. You would have seen in the news a lot this past year. There's several announcements for canola processing facilities in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So we're quite excited because typically what grows on my farm gets exported as a bulk commodity. And I think we're missing the value piece of what we're growing. So for us to be able to process here in Saskatchewan and export a value-added process is good for the whole value chain.
That's true, yes. As for the province also, it's good for like.
Absolutely, for the jobs, for the economy,
exactly.
for GDP.
Right now, where they deliver, like, I mean, where they're going to export to this, going to straight to US or?
Well, canola gets shipped around the world, yes, into the US. China is actually a very big buyer of canola meal and canola oil. But it is shipped all over the world. What we'll do to test the canola, you watch for green content. You don't want to have green content. So it's because it indicates moisture and that it's not ready yet. So we'll
take to be like pretty much this color, no green at all.
Right, and it's the inside that matters. So when you
can we try?
Yeah, if you can crack one open, there. You see, I cracked it open. It's windy, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
So see how it's bright yellow?
That's what we are looking?
Yep, you want it to be nice and yellow. When it's immature, it will be bright green.
Oh, I see.
We have a special tool device called a smasher. Well, I don't actually know what it's called, but I call it just a smusher. And you will roll the canola seeds. So it's like a big long ruler that has tiny little holes in it. We put the canola in the seeds, and then you roll on top of it to smush them. And when they're smushed, you'll be able to tell if it's yellow inside or if it's green. On any given year, for the most part, we grow 1/3 of a cereal crop, so that would be durum or barley.
Barley, yeah.
1/3 of our farm would be in an oilseed crop, like a mustard or a flax, but for us it's canola. And the last third would be in a pulse crop, so that would be your chickpeas or your lentils or your field peas. And that helps, just for agronomic purposes in the soil, we're able to rotate those crops amongst each other.
Yeah. So next year this area going to be something else?
It'll be something else.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes you can see, the previous crop, will not have biodegraded. So this crop will remain on the soil after it's harvested, and that just adds to the organic matter in the soil and improves the soil.
That's right. Yeah.
At Evraz Place and Mosaic Stadium, do you guys only use canola oil in all of the deep fryers?
That's right. Yeah. That's the only thing we use. Yes. Yeah.
Well, the farmers are grateful for that. Yeah.
As you said, it's very healthier.
Yeah.
One thing, and then second thing is, like if you go with a peanut and all, like so many allergies.
Allergens.
We have to deal with,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's ideal. We use the canola oil for all cooking process, right?
High five, chef. A big thank you to my new friend in food, Chef Chaminda, for taking the time to walk and talk in the fields with me. When farmers and chefs get together, fun things happen. Now let's go feed a hungry crew. Located near Mossbank, Howe Livestock and Grain is owned and operated by Chris and Danny Hawkins and Derek and Christy Howe. Together, they farm 12,000 acres and grow chickpeas, lentils, barley, and canola. Between the two families, they have 9 children, 7 girls and 2 boys. They are busy raising cattle and raising kids, but not too busy to volunteer extensively in their local community. Is this your first time cooking in the field? I just want you to know I'm kind of an expert at field meals.
I know
No
you
pressure.
are. I know you are. I'm going to give you a choice of knife. You can pick anything you want to.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
So these are all brand new.
Wow. Holy man, these are
so-
exceptional tools. All right.
These are very sharp.
Yep.
And make sure you pick up the right one, with whatever the comfortable. Okay.
Okay, so what are you having me cook? Some sausage. So I need a little bit of a roll. How about this one right here? Yeah?
Good. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to use this one.
Oh, you hid that one on purpose.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See, this is kind of you can
Practice.
start with.
Okay, how thick do you want it?
So these are farmers, right?
Yep.
They will eat. They love the meat.
They do?
So, yeah. So why don't you cut the way you want to eat?
All right.
We put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to teach you
A new technique.
new technique.
Okay.
So you keep your finger like this,
Yeah.
and then you can measure with your with the finger when you're cutting it. See, now you know, even you can talk to somebody else while you're cutting it. You know where the knife is hit,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
Okay, good. Here we go.
Okay. You guys see me not looking? This would actually be quite handy with the kids around and they're yelling like, "Mom!" And I
Yeah,
can be
it's-
like, "Don't bug me!" But now,
Now
like,
you
go
know.
ahead, bug me. So what kind of sausage am I cutting up here?
This is all salami, different kind of salamis.
Yeah. Pork based?
Pork base, yeah. And this one is a Genoa salami,
Yeah.
and this one is dry chorizo style. You see that?
Yeah. The marbling.
Yeah, marbling and then spiciness of it. Yeah.
I noticed you're using Gravelberg mustard, Chef.
Yes, that's
I
right.
grew up, my hometown is pretty close to Gravelberg.
That's cool.
And I would argue that that is some of the finest mustard I've ever had.
You can try some too, eh?
I can eat some?
Yeah.
This one looks like a real, I did like a,
To make sure, you know, like,
Triangle.
here, try this and see how do you feel.
it's quality assurance, isn't
Of
it?
course, yeah. That's all about the chefs, right? You
It's
like it?
acceptable. That's really good. So how do you avoid not weighing like 300 pounds when you're a chef?
How do I avoid
How
that?
do you avoid that?
I
Do you have
think
a really strong like fitness regime?
I think it's controlling what you're eating, one thing, and then second thing, you know, like, you know, I have put 32,000 of the steps on a game day, usual game day.
On Rider Game Day, 32,000 steps?
That's right, yeah.
Wow.
So that's all about, you know, like it's a huge operation. So
Yeah.
make sure everything is run smooth, and you know, I need to go and check it out, the few things. Wherever it is, you know, like I know I have to go from one end to the other end.
I didn't know that being a chef was a cardio workout. I had not heard that before.
I think that's the secret behind all this.
Yeah, yeah, the whole package. Okay, do you want that one? Do you want this to be pretty in there?
Yeah, just throw in there like rustic style.
All about the presentation. So what are we serving here, Chef?
This is the fall's winter salad, or root vegetable, roasted root vegetable, and microgreens.
And what about this? Is that extra? Right there? Where
Yeah,
do you
that's
want
right.
it?
Yeah, that's
Right
for the
there?
garnish, right?
Okay. It's a beautiful garnish.
Yeah.
Okay everyone, not to interrupt your dessert, but we just wanted to say a great big thank you to you. This is the first of Canada's Farm Show Field Meals, brought to you by Viterra. So a big round of applause to our sponsors. Yeah, and just a sincere gratitude to How Livestock, all that is How Livestock, especially the kids, for indulging us and letting us come out here and show some gratitude to you guys that are growing the food at harvest time. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our chef from Real Flavors in Saskatchewan here. He feeds everybody. Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys, and I'm really pleasure to do this meal with you using your ingredients. And you know, the concept is farm to table. So I try to use all ingredients, as I said, mention what you guys grow, and then I'm looking forward to do more and more this kind of event, and really appreciate, and my pleasure to come and do this kind of meal. I know the wind is giving us a hard time.
Mother Nature gave us a hard time this whole year, so I don't know why she'd cut us a break.
So yeah, so as I said, you know, like really enjoying using your ingredients and come up to do this kind of event for you guys. Really pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
A very special thank you to the family and crew of How Livestock and Grain for sharing your harvest with us and letting us deliver this first field meal experience. And another thank you to our sponsor, Viterra. This has been a really special day for me and my first official appearance as host of Canada's Farm Show. You can find this episode of Farm Show TV on our website at canadasfarmshow.com. And remember, it's on demand anytime you want to watch it from wherever you want to watch it. Maybe you're still combining, maybe you're in a tractor, maybe you're on the beach. Remember the beach. Wherever you are, at canadasfarmshow.com, you can watch the episodes and the full show. Check it out.
We know farming isn't an 8-to-5 business. That's why we want to give you the tools to do business anywhere, anytime. With MyViterra, you have a powerful tool at your fingertips to stay connected no matter where you are. Create online contracts, receive customized alerts, view your account information, and access grain prices in real time. Talk to your rep today and find out more about how you can harness the power of MyViterra, keeping you connected in real time. This is MyViterra.